Shutter speed or shutter angle? Which one should you choose for shooting video? In short, both can achieve the same effects. However, let's take a look at shutter speed first to understand why shutter angle is more convenient for filmmakers. The rule of thumb for achieving normal motion blur, as your eyes would see it, is to set your shutter speed to double your frame rate. For example, if you're like me in the UK and film at 25 frames a second or 25p, then you set your shutter speed to 1/50th of a second. For slow motion at 50 frames a second, then you'd set your shutter speed to 1/100th of a second, and so on. If you're shooting at 24p, then choose 1/48th of a second if you have it, or 1/50th if you don't. So what if you don't double your shutter speed? Well, if you use a shutter speed lower than double your frame rate, you'll get more motion blur. Anything with movement will get increasingly streaky and blurry the lower your shutter speed is set to, and the more motion in the frame. If you go higher than double your frame rate, you'll get less motion blur and your action will look very stiff and it will have a very high energy kinetic look. So with shutter angle, 180 degrees is considered normal motion, as your eyes would see it, the same as doubling your frame rate. So why bother use shutter angle at all? Well, the benefit of using shutter angle is that if you're switching from standard frame rate, for me 25p, going to slow motion at 50, you don't need to change your shutter angle if you want normal motion blur. 180 degrees will give you normal motion blur no matter what the frame rate. So no more fiddling with settings or doing the monkey maths for the most part. If you need a more stylized or creative look when using shutter angle, say if you want to film an arty waterfall or car headlights at night, then you'll want to have a longer exposure and you'll need to crank the shutter angle above 180 degrees to give you that nice ethereal motion, more blur, more streaky headlights. And you'll also want a tripod to keep the static parts of your image nice and sharp. If you're shooting action and want a staccato, high energy effect, then lower your shutter angle below 180 degrees. That's it in a nutshell. Until next time, I'm Adam Loretz from the Filmmakers Workshop. Thanks for watching.